Color guard's coming up, so we will play this music. Color guard. Color guard attention. Color guard advance. Halt. Prepare to post colors. Stand salute. Post the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two. Color guard. Bow face. Color guard. Return to rank. Thank you. Thank you, boys. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee Caprio?
Present.
Trustee Rogers?
Present.
Trustee Sweet?
Present.
Trustee Maxey-Tribe?
Present.
Trustee Varian?
Present.
Mayor Buchanan?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Mayor, do you want a second item on the exec?
Yes, we do. The other thing that's going to be going on for executive session, we have one for personnel, and I would also like to add to it land acquisition. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 12, 2016 Village Board meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the accounts payable for the period of August 26, 2016 through October 27, 2016?
So moved.
Trustee Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Costa, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Maxey-Tribe? Aye. Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is reports and communications from mayor and other officers. I'll start out with the mayor's report. We ordered these blue and yellow flowers to bring awareness to the recognition of Down Syndrome Awareness Month. In the words of Chris Burke, October is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, a chance to spread awareness. During the month of October, we celebrate people with Down syndromes and make some people aware of their abilities and accomplishments. It's not about celebrating disabilities, it's about celebrating abilities. Mike Hike. Mike Hike will take place on Saturday, November 5th at the Michael C. Oliveri segment of the Homer Glen Heroes Trail. Participants can register online at mikehike5k.com. Proceeds raised through this event commemorate our local heroes while supporting improvements to our community trails and parks. Next is Illinois American Water proposed rate increases. Illinois American Water is seeking a rate increase for water and sewer service. The increase to the average customer in Homer Glen, who uses 4,500 gallons, is projected to be $25 a month in an increase. At the last board meeting, we announced a public forum will be scheduled for November 7th. Instead of holding a meeting, we are encouraging residents to submit a public comment on the Illinois Commerce Commission ICC website. Information and a link to the ICC website can be found on the village website and in an ad in this week's Home Horizon. The ICC is required to review all of the submitted comments. Please submit your comments by November 4th. A decision will be made by December 7th. When making your comment, let the ICC know how this rate increase will impact you and your family. You can include how much you are currently paying each month for Illinois American Water Service. And the reason we changed it to having a meeting, which we really did want, is the ICC cuts off the date sooner than we can have the meeting and get the papers up to them. So we'd be wasting your time and our time. So we are asking you to go online, write a letter to them, saying how ridiculous the prices are. They're crazy now, they're going to get crazy in another month. Trick-or-treat hours. Trick-or-treat hours are set as 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Monday, October 31st, in the village of Glen. For a list of Halloween safety tips, please visit www.homerglenill.org. One more thing that I'd like to, just for me, this will be the last meeting before the election is coming up. This is probably going to be the biggest election that I think anyone's ever seen. This is going to be very important what happens. So please pay attention to who's been in office, who's done anything. If they haven't done anything, don't vote for them. Put new blood in there. We have to do something. Our state's in trouble and the school government's in trouble. We don't need career politicians running us. We need fresh blood. So please go out and vote, because it's not about us anymore. Now it's about all these kids in the back, your kids, your grandkids, and all the kids that are going to follow. We don't do something pretty soon, we're in a lot of trouble. So instead of, like my mom used to say, you're going to bitch about what's going on, do something about it. So please go out and vote. With that, we'll turn it over to the trustees. Or to the, trustees. We'll start with Trustee Barron.
No report this evening, Mayor.
Trustee Mansky.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick reminder that the second public open house is November 12th from 10 a.m. to noon here in the village boardroom. And then one other reminder that my sidewalk is still open. We've had very minimal turnout, but we'd ask that everyone talk to their friends and neighbors again to get on that my sidewalk and voice your opinion. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Costa.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Rogers.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Trustee Sweet.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for the Environment Committee. The Environment Committee would like to thank our staff, Mr. Rick Gomez of Instant Shade Tree, and a local resident for donating the Norway spruce tree, which made the 2016 Homer Glen Lands Day ceremony a wonderful success. We would also like to thank all the residents who came out today to participate in this event. The Norway spruce tree will be used every year for the village's holiday tree lighting festivities, which normally takes place in early December. Looking ahead to 2017, please mark your calendars for our Birthday Arbor Day event, which will take place on Saturday, May 20th at the Konos Farm. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Sweet. Trustee Gabriel.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a treasurer's report?
Yes, Mayor, I have the treasurer's report of cash and investments. It's September 30th. It is the 5th month of fiscal 17. It shows the general fund with cash and investments of $5,401,365.29. Special event fund had a balance of $114,497.38. The environmental fund had a balance of $64,511.77. Motor fuel tax fund had a balance of $255,001.02. The Park and Recreation Fund had a balance of $2,692,778.38. And the Debt Service Fund had a balance of $2,212,095.40. The Capital Project Fund had a cash and investment balance of $1,409,999.40. $445,703.14. The EAB Tree Replacement Fund had a balance of $453,707.83. And the last fund, the Capital Project Bond Fund, had a balance of $15,034,258.04 for a grand total, all funds, $30,673,918.25. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, John. Next, is there anything from the village clerk?
Thank you. Just that early voting started Monday and the turnout is quite high. We've almost already reached the total for what we had in the project. And it's only day 3. So we are open from 9 to noon and then 1 to 4, Monday through Friday. And then we're open from 9:30 to 12 on Saturdays. So come see.
Thank you. Village attorney?
No report, Your Honor.
Public safety?
No report.
Village manager? No report. Next is public comment. Give me 1 second. We have 3. Glen McGarry, you first.
Wrote it down. Glen McGarry, 14104 Mayor Vogue, Orland Park, Homer, Glen. Last time I asked you, and Brian answered me about our 3-cent tax. But now the question is about our motor fuel tax that we get back from the state. Is the amendment going to affect that?
Don't know. Good question. If it failed, obviously, is the question, if the amendment failed.
No, the question is if it passes.
Well, if it passed, so the amendment, if it passes, is to make sure that the road funds can't be swept, so the funding would be there, and under that scenario, I don't think they're being changed. I think the concern would be, I don't know if it didn't pass, it stays as is, and we haven't had an issue. So I don't believe so, but I'd be happy to investigate for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Wayne Fairbrother?
2 items. First of all, I'd like to thank the trustees for voting approval of the changes to the community meeting room. They were well taken, and I think it's going to benefit both the village and village users of that meeting room. Second, I'd like to talk about the municipal investment fund. We talked about this earlier in the year. We talked about the potential loss to Homer Glen in its investment, and I think we had asked John at the time to periodically publish the results of that fund and how much we recovered to date. I don't think I've seen a report since then. So I'd like to encourage that we get a report every once in a while, because there are homeowners that are concerned with that fund. So that's it.
We post the IMET updates every time we get them on the internet. And the laws are now, they've sold most of the assets and they're sitting on, 55% of the loss in cash. But there's some claims against with the government where there's a priority position and the receiver for IMET can't release the funds until there's a resolution there. So they're working on it, and I can give you an update, but there's a lot of literature on our website, and it changes often, as there's many different lawsuits going on.
Thanks, John. Scott Slikos?
Yes, I'm here simply to answer any questions on agenda item number 3.
Okay, right. Thanks, Scott. We'll call it up if we need something. Thank you. Okay. That's it for the public comment. Did you want to talk, John?
Yes, I didn't sign it.
That's okay. You got to give a little gavel because all I see is work back there.
Sorry about that.
when you were speaking earlier about, get out there and vote, I do a little bit of politicking around my own neighborhood, only 50-some homes, but it's, I try to tell them what they need to hold, or try to answer some of their questions. Now, I received my sample ballot, and in the sample ballot, it's fine. The only problem is, like they say, well, who's the incumbent? Well, luckily, I knew most of the people, so with that, then I did, and then I had to go to an out-of area. I went to 3 different newspapers, and the third one finally gave me who's the incumbent in these races. Maybe when you put a notation with the Horizon, maybe we can put in there, well, this one, if you're voting, these are the incumbents, and put their names in. Because a lot of people, and myself, there was a few, I don't know. And then with judges, you want or don't you want? They don't do what you want. I said, I only know one that I would not ever, my godson is a parole officer in Joliet. So he gave me 2 names. We do not want them in the judge position in Will County. So, like I say, try and put something there, give people an idea of the incumbents and who's running against them.
Well, the newspapers are here. Could you do that for us?
I can ask about it and see if it's possible.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Legislation action items. Consider for approval a motion to accept and receive the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2016 village audit.
I so move.
Second? A second. Discussion? Or you want to, we should hear it? Okay.
Mayor?
Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity, especially the first time in the new boardroom. This is continue to show the growth of the village. And this report, which is the audit for the year ended April 30th of 2016, I think reflects continued growth of and progress of the village. The report's it's 89 pages, and grows a little bit each year. And one of the things, and I'll point out when we get to it, there was a change this year in the new accounting standard that required an addition of the pension liabilities. It's the first time that's included in there. But the report is a comprehensive annual financial report, as has been done in the past, and starts off with a letter of transmittal, which is more of a overview of the economic conditions that the village faces, kind of, what's the environment that you're operating in. Also gets into some of the major initiatives that were undertaken in the past, and then also talks a little bit about your financial controls, but it's more of a general overview of things. And then following that is the Certificate of Achievement and Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is for the report that was prepared for last year, April 30th of 15. The report this year is also going to be submitted, and it would be our expectation that it does meet the standards for the excellence in financial reporting. There were a few minor comments on the last report; those were addressed, so I don't see any reason why it shouldn't continue to receive that award. Following that is a list of the principal officials, the board, and officers as of the end of the year, an organization chart, and then we get into the next section, which is the financial section, and this is our contribution to the cause. If you read the independent auditor's report, basically what we're explaining to the readers is that these are your financial statements. You as the board are the highest level of management, and it's your responsibility for the preparation and what's included in the report. And as auditors, it's our responsibility to come in and perform the audit procedures that are generally accepted in the United States of America, that we basically look at documents, test transactions, make sure that the balances are appropriate, and gather enough evidence to form an opinion. And I'm pleased to say that last line on page Roman numeral 10 is that we believe the audit evidence is sufficient to provide a basis for our opinion. And that opinion is on the following page. Is that we feel that these statements do refer to present in all material respects the financial position and result of operations for the village as of for the year ended April 30th of 16. Basically, what's referred to as an unmodified opinion. So we feel that the numbers presented in here do reflect what has transpired. As I mentioned, there was a change of accounting principle. There was a government accounting standards statement number 68, which relates to now that the future pension liability is determined by the actuaries, is now recorded in the statements as a liability, which has not been in the past. And I'll point that out when we get to the statements. There's some other required information, again, relates to the, primarily to the pension information, other information, and then some comparative information that's condensed from the prior years to make the statement a little bit more user-friendly, so you can compare this year to last year, was an increase or decrease, and then explain why. But we've audited everything that we can. There's some things that we're not able to provide an opinion on. The next thing will be one of the management discussion analysis letter, because that's something talking about what's going on in the current year. But we feel that even those items are consistent and appropriate with what's presented for the financial statement. So all in all, I think, again, a real strong report, and you as a board should be pleased to hear that. Moving on to that management discussion and analysis letter, this is, I think I may have said this in the past, kind of the story behind the numbers. It explains, some of the financial highlights. One of the starting off with the fact that your assets, deferred outflows, which relates to that new pension standard, exceeded your liabilities by almost $52 million. Now that does include the infrastructure, the buildings, but as well as the debt that's outstanding. Of this, some of that was restricted, but the vast majority of that was available. Looking at it from a fund financial statement perspective, they actually had an ending total governmental fund balances of a little more than $30,200,000. And that's an increase of about $133,000 this year. Now that's revenues in and expenditures, which includes capital outlay and debt service payments. So you still ended up having an increase in your fund balances. Then it talks about your change in net position, which is the SPY, where again the capital assets and the debt are included, actually increased by more than $7.1 million. A good chunk of that increase is the contributions toward the infrastructure improvements that were paid for by the state and other agencies, but becomes your asset. So it's not that cash went up that much, but the value of the assets increased. It gets into a little discussion regarding the various financials that are included in the government-wide statements as well as the fund statements. Talks about there's a comparison on page Roman numeral 15 between this year and last year, showing that your total assets increased from 59.8, almost 59.9 to the 65.4 million, and the liabilities actually decreased from 15.5 to the 13.8 this year, mainly with a reduction in the debt, which is the normal debt service payments. On the following page is comparison of the revenues and the expenses, and this does include depreciation, but does not include actually the capital expenditures and the principal on the debt. But the big reason for the increase in the revenues is that contribution, that $4.2 million is the contribution related to those infrastructure assets, but also the investment income ended up being a positive number, and kind of in line with that one question from the public. The investments related to any potential losses have been reflected in these numbers. So if they're, once the dollars aren't realized, we shouldn't see an impact on the statements for any future write-downs. We've been taking those as we go along. So, the impact of the INET investments has been reflected in here. There's additional, this is real good information, where the dollars are coming from on page Roman numeral 17 and where the dollars are going. And, it's very consistent with in the past. Primarily the largest share of the dollars are spent on public safety, and then highway and streets are the next biggest area. From a budgetary standpoint, this is on page Roman numeral 19, talking about the general fund budget. Comparing actual expenditures on a budgetary basis, you were actually almost $227,000 below budget from what you had set out. So I think that's an important number to point out, that you set out a budget, you set a plan, management followed the plan, and you were able to bring everything home under budget. A little discussion regarding the capital assets and the debt. As I said, basically there's no increase in the debt this year, the bonds were paid as planned. And then finally, just a little bit talking about what the village faces in the coming year, and if any additional information is required, we're ready to contact. So I think if a reader stopped there, they have a pretty good flavor of what happened in the village this past year and kind of where you stand. The actual financial statements follow on the numbered pages. There's that statement of net position, which is that combined entity statement. It's a little more detailed than what was in the management discussion analysis. And then on the following page, on page 2, is a summary of the expenses by function, and then a breakdown of what offsetting direct revenues, general revenues, which are primarily the sales taxes and the other intergovernmental taxes, to bring that increase. And again, even without that contribution related to the infrastructure, you still had a positive increase during this year. The fund financial statements, which is basically what you see on a monthly basis, in the treasurer's report, as well as how you're budgeting and tracking your revenues and your expenditures. And that's where that $30 million balance that I mentioned earlier is in total. In the general fund, you've got $4.6 million, which half of that is considered unassigned or available for general purposes. And if you compare that to the expenditures, which are on page 7 and 8, I'm sorry, on 6 and 7, you have about almost 50% of your balance on hand. So you're, relative to similar villages, you're in real strong shape, from that standpoint. And the fact that all the fund balances across the board are all positive. The capital project fund, did have a deficit for the year, but that's typical. That's the design of the fund. You accumulate dollars, and then when you spend it, you end up with a reduction for the year, but you still have over $18 million in the fund balance in the capital project fund. So I think, looking at the funds, they're all in good shape. Page 9 and 10, there's a comparison to the budget, and that's, it shows where that $226,000 positive variance for the expenditures. Then we get into a little bit of details regarding, some more budget comparisons to the major funds. Again, nothing really out of line with any of those, so I'll go through that. And then the next area I'd just like to touch on briefly are the notes of the financial statement. Those begin on page 17. There's just a couple of notes that I'd like to point out as you're reading the report. Page 24 shows your cash and investments, and basically all the investments that were rated were all AAA rated. They're all fairly short maturities. As far as the investments with IMET, right now there's $108,000 is what the realizable value that we're carrying on the book. So it's not a huge part of the dollars. That's in the 1 to 3 year fund. You got some of the convenience fund, and the liquidating trust is the area that's got the reserve, or that's been written down. So again, not a huge part of your portfolio is really involved in that. Capital assets on the facing page shows what was added, and then this past year where the depreciation was reflected. This year depreciation was almost $3.3 million. That's included on those entity-wide statements. The long-term liabilities, the bonds, shows what the maturities is on page 26, and through 2023 what the principal and interest payments are. And the good news here is there's not a big balloon payment coming up, so it's not going to have a major effect on the resources of the village, because sometimes you get some of these debts so structured where you push everything off to the end, and then you got a big issue. You're in good shape there. The note that begins on page 28 talks about the pension fund, which is the IMRF for the employees. And basically what's now reflected is that you have a liability at the end of the year. It was $490,536 is what's reflected now on the books that had never been there in the past. And of all the pension funds in the state, IMRF is probably in the best shape of all of them. So the good news is that your liability relative to the assets available is fairly small. That most of the funding has been in place. You've made all the contributions that you're required, so there's no issue regarding that it's why there's an unfunding. It's just what the actuaries have determined to be future payout for all current and former employees that are the responsibility of the village. and versus what has been paid in. So, I don't see a big increase in the future related to the funding, because as I said, everything's been going forward. On page 34, just if you were to compare this year to last year, there was a restatement of the prior year balances because of the statement. So the prior year balance was actually decreased by $222,000. But the good news is that your net position is still positive. We've got a number of governmental entities, because of this pension statement, that their net assets actually went negative. And that's a serious problem, because it just shows that because of that pension liability, effectively, you could argue that they're if not on the verge of having some serious financial difficulties, depending upon how you're going to fund that. As I said, the good news here, you took that liability addition, and it really didn't have a major impact on your net position. There's some additional required information regarding the retirement funding. It's kind of got carried away. Accountants can't stop and put anything in without too much hoopla. So there's again, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you're fine. There's additional fund information. I'm not going to quote through any of those unless there's a question on a specific fund. And then the final section, which I think is also very interesting, and it's one of the things that makes this a comprehensive annual financial report, is the statistical section. And there's 5 different categories: financial trends, revenue capacity, debt, demographics, and other information. It gives 10-year trend information, and I think is really kind of helps tell the story of the village, and how it's grown over the last 10 years. But just kind of where things are headed, and obviously there's no guarantee with everything that's going on in the world that they'll continue. But I think the thing is that it shows that the village has positioned itself very well to face whatever challenges do arise. That hopefully quickly enough is a summary of the audit report. I'll stop there before we go into the last letter that was addressed before. Are there any questions on the audit that I can answer?
I have one question on the operating leases. Just for 2017, it would be $251,352, and for 2018, $154,778. Is that for lease of the property that we were?
It's a combination of all your leases, but yeah, it's whatever you're still obligated to pay. And so yeah, I believe that was
the EMA garage and some of the copiers, and also this office. I'm sorry,
the
former
overall
office.
Right, but we're done paying.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is all leases that, so it's primarily.
Yeah, the only thing that threw me is it's starting from 2017 to 2018, coming up with $406,130. I know we still have the EMA buildings that we have at least this year, but
it was a snapshot of April 30 also. And that was a prospective presentation, so next year it'll be more reflective of the new space here and down considerably.
Yeah, because we have all these leases that were in effect as of April 30th of 16. We'll pay them this year. Next year you'll pay the balance.
but it's 2016 right now.
That lease hadn't terminated yet, so they were forecasting it would continue.
Okay. Then EMA, that one expires in, when does it expire?
I can get you some data on that, but I'm not quite sure. I think John's not here. John would know. I'm not sure. I'd be guessing if I told you. There's not a long. It's not long term.
Right. And we don't want you to guess. We are building up the nuts of the city. We are debt free from any rent.
I would like. Oops. Thank you. I'd like to mention that this report will be on the village website on Friday, under the comprehensive annual financial report.
I just saw that. I just want to make sure that everything's good. So I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. Any other? Okay. Well, part of this audit, we are now required to, but in the past we would give a what we refer to as a governance letter. This is the letter, the financial statements give the number story. This is kind of more of a how did the audit process go, and with me tonight is Kevin Bissell, one of our senior managers that ran the audit and worked with John in preparing this. And I'm pleased to say that during the process of the audit, that, you know, everything went very well. We, you know, didn't have any issues, didn't have any items that we felt were, you know, any findings, weaknesses that needed to be reported. That, you know, really, you know, once again, you know, I think you got a good, strong system of controls in place, and you are sticking to them. I actually attached to the letter just so that you know what is transpired during the audit process to, you know, get to these statements are the journal entries that were recorded, and really the first 3 entries are really more accounting-related issues, and 2 of them are items that at some point in time you got to close the ledger and say, you know, stop the music so the audit can start. A couple things as John was going through it, as he was, you know, doing some of the schedules, he identified, you know, a couple, and they're really fairly minor adjustments, but he wanted to make sure they get in to the record. And then the last entry regarding accounting was just, you know, getting the retainage on the construction, the village hall renovation. So there's no reclassifications, there's no error corrections. I mean, everything, you know, that you're seeing on a monthly basis is consistent with what's in the report. I think that's important because there shouldn't be surprises. I mean, not that we don't find the audits exciting, but you as a board should, you know, hopefully it should be relatively, you know, mundane, because if there's problems, that's when, you know, things aren't going well. So I'm very pleased that we can give the governance letter the same level of you know, activity and quality that the past and the results of the audit. And like I said, you know, John and the staff do a very nice job of getting everything ready. You know, the audit process goes very smoothly, so I'm pleased to be able to give that report. Any other questions?
John, it's every year.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Ed, and especially Kevin. They're terrific to work with, and it's a tedious process, and we get through it pretty efficiently, and I really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
No, it's our pleasure. We, you know, appreciate the opportunity to want to make this presentation, but, you know, even more so to provide the audit services. And if there are questions that do come up, I know that, you know, John and Paul, and, you know, we're pleased to be able to help. You know, because, you know, I mean, we are independent, and we are taking an independent look at the process. But if, you know, it's much easier to deal with the question at the time as opposed to come in after the fact and say, why should that? So, you know, we encourage, if there are things we can help with, please let us know. Again, thank you very much.
We appreciate the reports have done wonderfully. So thank you to both. Did anyone have any questions? Okay. Number 2. Motion to begin.
We have a motion by Sharon, seconded by Carla.
That's right. So now we need a roll call.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Trustee Nice-Detroit?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-043, an ordinance granting approval of a variance to increase the allowable maximum impervious surface coverage from 40 to 48.3%? Attachment 1, Table 1B, site structure bulk requirements for the residential districts of Chapter 220 zoning of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located at 14812 South Pheasant Lane, Homer Glen, Illinois. Mary Ellen Ungeller, case number HG1623-V.
So moved.
Trustee Costa.
A second.
Trustee Caprio. Is there any discussion?
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
On the one picture here, it looks like a big slope. Is that the property on the right-hand side, that first picture that's included in our packet?
Yeah, just for the record, I had included photographs that were submitted as part of the planning commission public hearing from residents who came to the meeting. They live behind the applicant's property. This is, I believe that is her house in the corner of the picture. From what I understand in conversations with Development Services Director, Mike Salamowitz. Both the village and Gallagher and Henry are aware of grading issues and sort of wet spots in this area, and they're supposed to be addressed in the future. But it's hard to, from what I understand, sort of address them now, as Pheasant Lane is still under construction with new single-family homes.
Okay. Well, my question is because, I don't know, Director Salamovich, they are going to do the drain tiles. Is that part of the project that their company, this pool company, is going to install drain tiles?
I'm not aware of any drain tiles as far as for the pool company. The property in the back, there's a 15-foot drainage easement, so and that section was constructed before the section where the new home and the pool is going to be. So the majority, the drainage just was on that property. Now, when they were constructing that new home, there was some sediment and dirt that had gotten onto that property, and I believe that's partially what's causing some of the standing water. We have had conversations with Gallagher and Henry, and they will have their landscaper will ultimately be kind of cleaning that up and making sure that the property behind is corrected so that there's no issues. But that is always where the drainage easement was, and that's always where the water was going. So.
Because, putting in the pool, it should absorb water as it rains because it's a pool, of course. I just didn't want this issue to become, more drastic, because I don't think this is not a village issue, right?
No, and that was, like I said, there's a 15-foot drainage easement there.
Okay.
So when they built the new house, they did match the grading plan, the proposed grading plans for the subdivision for the Kingston Hills Unit 6 subdivision. So they were in compliance with that. There's, like I said, I believe it's just because they had some issues with their erosion control that failed in that area, that they need to do some cleanup. And that's, again, we've had conversations with Gallagher and Henry, and they agreed to do that work.
Did they give you a time frame next spring, or?
I no specific time frame. As part of the condition for the approval of that property, they're still under a TCO as far as an occupancy permit. And the condition for that was Gallagher and Henry needs to address that before they get their final occupancy.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, real quick, Mayor. So, in reading the minutes from Plan Commission, I believe it was approved with condition or conditionally for the drainage tiles. Is that?
Yeah. So the plan commissioners none of the neighbors had a problem specifically with the pool. They just wanted to use the public hearing as an opportunity to have a conversation with the village regarding water issues. So the plan commission wanted to add a condition to sort of protect the neighbors, where the pool company agreed to include drain tiles free of charge to the applicant upon approval by Mike Salamone. So if he feels that they're needed in order to help with drainage in the area, they will be included. But it's up to his discretion as part of the engineering approval.
And that would be a simple thing to add.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Knight-Peterson?
Aye.
Trustee Barron?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 3, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-044, an ordinance granting approval of a variance to reduce required sign setback from 15 feet to 2 feet, chapter 220-1005 F3D of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located at 15723, 15731 South Anico Drive, Glen, Illinois, ZR1 Properties LLC, case number HG1625V.
So moved.
Trustee Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Barron? Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Barron?
Aye.
Trustee Knight-Peterson?
Aye.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-045, authorizing the adjustment of traffic control devices, speed limit signs on Crystal Lake Drive, restoring the speed limit on Crystal Lake Drive from 20 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour between Chicago-Wilmington Road and Haas Road?
I would like to make an amendment to table this until public safety can discuss it.
As well as that number 5, too.
As well as number 5, public safety hasn't had time to chime in, so.
This is, Mayor, if I could ask a question, this is not a recommendation from public safety, right?
No.
This is something that came up through public comment?
Correct.
Okay.
Public safety hasn't.
I agree, let's table it, because I think we're going back in time. If we're going to go back with the 25, I think there's a good reason to keep it at 20. And so we're not discussing tonight anyway. Yeah, table it for recount.
Okay, everyone in agreement?
So you got a
I'll
motion.
second.
All right. So this is a roll call?
Sure.
Clerk, would you please call the roll? This will be for 4 and 5.
To table them?
To table both.
And that was Beth and Sharon.
Correct.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Nazareth?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 6, is there a motion to approve the attached proclamation designating October as Down Syndrome Awareness Month in the Village of Homer Glen?
So moved.
Trustee Costa and Trustee Nancy. Is there discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Nancy?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 7, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 16-047, an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Article 2, Section 10-1 of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen, establishing the list of standing committees on the Village of Homer Glen, and the amended Mayor and Village Board Standard Operating Procedures number 001, entitled List of Items, Projects, etc., and standing committees of which consideration of these items shall be sent.
I so move.
Trustee Sweet.
Second.
Trustee Caprio, is there discussion?
I just for the record, this is just putting back the information that was originally there prior to the CED's comments and responsibilities.
Correct. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Nancy?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to share in a regional capacity study with the City of Lockport and the City of Romeoville for wastewater treatment plant facility needs in an amount of not to exceed $23,500?
So moved.
Trustee
Second.
Costa? Trustee Nancy? Is there discussion?
Just one clarification maybe from Mike. In the motion, with Romeoville listed in the motion,
The way it's read right now, Romeoville hasn't approved anything, so the maximum dollars to the village, if it's just the village of Homer Glen and the village of Lockport, would be $23,500. If Romeoville joins in at a later time this month, it would go down to approximately $14,000 for the village. So we listed the maximum capacity for the village.
okay, so just, I guess in the motion, will it matter if Romeoville didn't participate? Because we're saying in the motion it's Lockport and the City of Romeoville. With that, maybe that's a question for the attorney.
Trustee Costa, make a motion.
Because in the packet, it did say that each Homer Glen and Romeoville would be responsible for $23,500 each.
There was 2 separate areas that Lockport was looking at. Currently, they're only looking at one. So with that, There was a second possibility of decommissioning a facility and a capacity study on that. This one does not take into consideration currently. So since Romeoville hasn't approved anything as of yet, I listed the full dollar amount with the thought process that if they join in our commitment, which to be lower, but you've already given the approval of the maximum dollar.
But the maximum, regardless if there's one study or two, it's going to be 23.5, correct?
There's only one study currently in consideration, that's 23.5. Maximum for the village.
Yeah, the not to exceed.
I guess my question is regarding the motion.
The language.
Yeah, the language. I just want to make sure we're clear on that, that in the event that Romeoville doesn't participate, in the motion it's saying City of Lockport and the City of Romeoville?
That's
okay. Okay, great.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Sweet? Aye. Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich? Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? All right, the next item is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel and land acquisition? So moved. Trustee Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Costa? Any discussion? Motion carries. We will be, roll call.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Trustee Barry?
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich? Aye.
Motion carries. We are going in for discussion. No action will be taken, so if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, we'll see you in a couple weeks. Go out, vote.